Hi, this is James, the coach of Team Liquid, and you're listening to The Center Ring.
Jump. Two on two. That bomb so far tick. They gotta move quick right now. They're going for it. The defuse is already happening. Hiko, are you kidding me? He's gonna go for it. They win the round. Hiko picks up a triple and Cloud9 win it one. Now he can go one on wall and into the mat. He's hit on Topper. They've lost 3. They've lost 4. Into disaster. They've lost 5. Navi disintegrating Tongfu. I mean, my heart's beating, my hands are shaking. He's thinking about it. Here it comes. Vanguard's pretty close. They're going to dive in. It was the target here of exhausted Uzi. Oh! It's on the back. They're trying to get in. But Zero's taking on the turret. He's going to go down as well. Insect low. Insect goes down. Now Uzi is just like, yes! There's a god. Are you kidding me?
Let's keep it clean. It's a family show.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of The Center Ring. We got a special one. Coming to you live, pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. Episode 100. We made it. All thanks to you, the listener. And, we're glad to have you here. The date, April 11th, 2018. The time, 7:30 p.m. We are 30 minutes late. I'll explain why in just a second. But I am your host, Tim. Alongside me, as always, we have Anuj. Hello, Anuj.
What's up, buddy? Welcome 100.
Welcome. Hello, Brett. Hello.
That intro's got me so hyped. So much screaming.
That was the original intro. So for the listeners who are new to the show and maybe not know this, but that is the original. We started the show off with that intro. And James, coach of Team Liquid, he was the very first liner that we ever got for the show. So that was a throwback to him. I wonder how he's doing. I haven't talked to him in a while. But this is it. Episode 100. We are late, so we're going to switch the script a little bit, okay? We were going to start with Memory Lane, but now we're going to start with an interview with Richard Ng. He's the founder of 5 Deadly Venoms, but first, before we get into that, we're going to end the show with E-News. Maybe talk some Zuma. Some funny stuff happened there. But the reason we're late, so as we are going to go live at 7 o'clock, like I hit the intro music to play. And, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh. Sometimes the computer just wants to die on you. And for 30 minutes, I could not get my computer working, and I finally got it working. So that's why we're late. We're going to start the interview. I think for the most part, I handled my cool pretty well.
No bad language.
Oh, yeah, no,
in the past 30 minutes at all.
No F-bombs were dropped.
Maybe up until the very end.
Nothing mentioned about the Apple geniuses, none of that stuff.
Listen, if you work at an Apple store,
not dropped every other word. No.
If you work at an Apple store, I respect you. You have a tough job. All right. So again, this is episode 100 of The Center Ring. It's a sloppy start, but hey, it wouldn't be us if it wasn't. Check us out on Twitter at The Center Ring, our website, TCR, all that good stuff. All right, let's get Richard in here, though, so we can talk some stuff with him. Hello, Richard. Richard, come in. Do you copy?
Reading you loud and clear.
Yes. All right. So as I said in the intro, this is Richard Ng. He is the founder of 5 Deadly Venoms, which is a supporters group for the New York Excelsior. He's also a listener of the show, a longtime listener. And coming up on Saturday, they are doing a charity match with the Houston Outlaws fan group, Lone Star Vanguard. So I wanted to get Richard in here, kind of talk a little bit about the fan group, a little bit about this charity match coming up, and just, have him on the show. It's episode 100. Why not? So, Richard.
Well, I'm on a milestone.
That's
right.
That's right. I was like, listen, I'm only going to get
I'm getting the warm fuzzies
guests
right now, guys. I'm getting the warm fuzzies.
The people I had to tell no, it's like Hex was coming at me, Richard Lewis was coming at me, and I was like, no. All right?
Not today.
I have the founder of a New York Excelsior fan club. All right?
Exactly. I'm the one and only Great Root Bear. And when someone names himself after the mascot for A&W, you got to have him on. It's a rule.
That's right. You have to. There's no way not to do it. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. I was trying to watch the league streams, but it's stuttering a lot. So I kind of gave up. Yeah, it's acting weird. So I just decided to watch. Yeah.
So Anuj, it's not just me. Like,
no, you just mentioned it like 2 minutes ago.
You're getting the weird like frame freezing bit. Where it's like stopping. Yeah. No, it's not you. I was about to do like firmware check on the router. I was going to do the reboots, and then I asked some folks.
It's Gladiators Dragons, so we can deal with that.
I know we're all pulling for Shanghai. Come on, part of us really wants to see them pull off that
part
win.
Of us wants to see that win. Yeah, I don't think it's going to come today, but hey, you know what? We'll see.
If you're ever having issues with the stream, just everyone knows to tweet Alchemeister. He's a friend of the show. Tell him the center ring sent you. If anything's wrong, you tweet at him. It's definitely his fault, no matter what. And he loves it. Trust me. So, Richard, I want to get into here, though. I know we have the charity match, and that's why we have you on. I want to get into it. But first, tell me who the 5 Deadly Venoms are.
The 5 Deadly Venoms are an NYXL supporters club. And we started not aiming to be anything big. It was really a group of random folks who were trying to find a place to watch Overwatch League, once the league was kicking off. And we took the look around. There was no sort of big official launch event like they had in Boston or Houston or Philly or 2 Los Angeleses. So we just started, I did like a kind of random Google searches to try to find places, was thoroughly ignored by a couple of venues, and then eventually found the spot called Waypoint Cafe, which I had never known existed. You would have loved my Google searches. They were looking like apes in 2001 with the monolith, when they're hammering on it.
Right.
Like work. I was like
Find me
typing in words
something.
like computer, game, play, New York, But we started off as just a group of like 12, 15 folks that randomly met at this cafe. And, through doing some old school, like rave style roll call, Google Sheets and that kind of thing, we've grown it into a pretty large supporters movement here in New York. And we just get together every single game, with the exception of the 11 p.m. starts, because that's just insane if you're here on the East Coast.
Yeah,
and
I don't blame you.
we're just there to cheer on the team.
So
how?
Oh, go ahead, Brett. Go ahead.
How strong are you guys? Like, what's the number? Do you have a hard, number of supporters that are part of that group?
I've done some of the I've gone through some of the email lists to correct things. I'm guessing we have around 200.
Okay.
Or so that have come through as sort of the unique visitors on site. That's some Google Analytics talking for you. But no, it's we've had about, I would say we're probably floating around 200, give or take. We're about to start doing more of a formal quote unquote registration, just to help manage communications that aren't just people following Twitter. But I'd say that's about the number we are at.
Well, it seems like you guys are always at capacity too, though, at Waypoint.
Yeah, it's
I know, because I constantly
nuts.
see your tweets saying like, "Oh, sorry, we're booked."
Yeah, part of that comes down to the beauty of maintaining building codes here in New York. One of the big things for us was to make sure that when we did get established and Waypoint, which is in the Lower East Side here in New York, when they opened up their doors to us, that we were really mindful, and respectful of neighbors, right? Like, you don't want to be a jerk or anything when you go in. And so as a result, we keep our numbers fairly reasonable. Small events will be like 30, 40 people. Sometimes we'll down cap them just to keep things reasonable. And then we go insane. when stuff like Soul Dynasty comes around and we want to watch Excelsior beat them up. Libero pull off some really aggressive Widowmaker hunting on on Ilios. But yeah, we would say that the big events float around like 70 to 80. The small events are like 30 to 40. And like I said, it started around like 15, 12. I once had 8. I think it was like the second week. It was, so it's a little bit all over. But we're doing some expansions now.
Yeah,
we've got another. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, well, I was going to say, I mean, it's really neat to just see it. I mean, me and Tim have gone to a few fuel watching parties, and it's just cool to see. Like, I've gone to local sporting events, like, like Stars watch parties or what have you. But it's really cool to get that local feel with with an esports game, like with Overwatch. It's really neat. It's a good atmosphere. I like that. Different fan groups are taking on a more like local approach, like like a hometown pride type deal.
Oh yeah, it's the beauty of localization. You get to tap into the best and worst thing about humans, and it's localization based on and proximity, right? And the loyalty that gets associated with that. So yeah, it's been really interesting. Waypoint was really funny because when we were trying to figure out, well, where do we want to do things, everyone's like, oh, it's got to be in a bar. You need to have a license. You have to have all these things. And we said, well, what if the game is more of a context, right? It is a context to have people actually really talk to one another about the game, and then the game, right, and the team act as the sort of the gel, the gel that holds things together, and that's led to something pretty unique. I like to think in that people will get pretty loud and they'll get pretty rowdy, and then they also get to know one another's names along the way. They find each other in Discord, and then they become friends, and it's pretty cool. But again, something that's very tough to do if you can't rally folks around a local flag. Otherwise, it's kind of like playing old school Wipeout. You're cheering for like generic corporate name.
Well,
Phasar,
it's cool because like you guys started out as a group, right? It almost seems like you started out as a group and you turned it into an event, rather than it was an event that turned into like some people getting to know each other. Right? When it starts out small, you can kind of branch out a little bit more community wise. Now, I will say this: anyone who questions that Richard is a true New York fan, I think the first interaction I had with him was when we were making fun of the NYXL's name and logo on the show. It was unanimously voted worst logo in the league. And I remember you sent me like an email basically with the full-on description of why the team name and the Excelsior and the logo and all that. And I was like, hey, man, whatever you say.
It's like you take pride in that, right? Like it's like in Dallas, like if somebody made fun of a Dallas team, it's like someone's making fun of your baby, right? Only you can make fun of your baby. So
Brad happens to like the Jack in the Box sign on the logo.
Oh yeah, I will defend that to my grave. All right.
Hey man, you got to always have a brand that stands for gastrointestinal distress, right? I mean that is the fuel brand, right? And so
a lot of aches and pains and growing pains.
Yeah. It's
pains and,
hey, but you have some great plays though too, right? Hey, look, we look, when you're a Mets fan, we're used to commiserating one another quite a bit. I mean, we're off to a great start this year. Knock on wood. Hoping it keeps up, but that's part of how it is. But yeah, I mean, even with the brand design, I remember sending you that note because I think I wrote something along the lines of, well, actually, what they've really done is built up a brand identity. This is very common in ad agencies where it's a design style and a framework for use for extensions. So you probably, you're going to see this a lot in bumpers and on overlays. And I will say, I still think that Excelsior is far and away the strongest when it comes to now when you see what they produce on like video assets.
Well, it's true. It's
for the
true.
team,
Well, even like their little website. I know the teams don't have their own websites, but it's like their extension on the Overwatch League's website. However, you know how they do it. New York has the best one. They have the best content out there. And I think even here to jump ship and get into the charity aspect of the match coming up, the way they are helping you out, right? And let's use that as a segue. So coming up on Saturday, the 14th, is the first ever home front series where 5 Deadly Venom is taking on the Lone Star Vanguard. You can watch it twitch.tv/NYXL. That is the official New York's Twitch page, if you didn't notice. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, the 14th. So I teed it up for you, Richard.
Yep.
Explain to me why we should tune in, or why should we care?
So we should care because, look, generally speaking, we often get hit, right, when you're in the game scene as being an angry, salty, misogynistic, or worse, kind of person.
My teammates with respect.
Always.
It's a lot of GGs along the way. But it's, we really thought that, look, the reality is the beauty of localization, the beauty of local teams is that we are grounded in communities and neighborhoods that welcome us. And when I came across the Lone Star Vanguard in Austin, we just started, rapping on, hey, this is, what we're doing, and seeing, how we could sort of trade notes and grow our respective scenes. And we realized that, both of us took a lot of pride, right, in our cities, in our communities. And, what better way for a team to make an entrance, or for a community of fans to make an entrance within a scene, by first saying, hey, thank you very much for allowing us to come into your space, and to show that we actually care and we want to say thanks for this. We really want to actually give back to our neighborhoods. So the idea of Homefront came up because we realized, well, you know what? We were just joking about, like, well, why don't we do a joint viewing party? Why don't we have a game? And I said to Joe, the head of Lone Star Vanguard, hey, let's do something nuts. Let's play a competitive match and try to raise a crap ton of money for some local charities, and show that there is a very large community of people within this scene who want to do good things because they want to see good things happen in the world. And we might not necessarily get a lot of play, right? A lot of media coverage because, we love the dirt, right? We're in a Daily Mail kind of world, and I'm a Daily Mail kind of girl. Like, it's that kind of thing, right? Like, we love that trash. And our thinking was, let's take this and do something bigger. So we were planning this out, plotting it, and once we started to get some steam, the team was like, "Hey, this is awesome. This is really cool. We love that it's been created by fans and communities." And then the Excelsior stepped in, and they're like, "Listen, we want to kind of help you get along." And I mean, I didn't know what that meant, because again, like, they're working on on-field product, right? Like,
You think
I'd love
maybe
to see that. And then
a retweet here and there?
Yeah, they've always been good. They've been great partners for us, kind of hooking us up with, swag supporter kits, things like that. And then they kind of came down the line and like, hey, we're going to put you on our Twitch channel. We're going to help you build some creative. And I was like, wait, what? and it's just kind of gone from there. So it went from this small idea to now being something where, we get to, for that one day, have a bunch of sort of players from the community that come to Waypoint that have heard of us, and then conversely, the folks at Austin are doing the same thing, and they get to have the same platform that any Overwatch League pro would have, and they get to do it just to help out their neighbors. And for that, I think it's a pretty badass thing and a pretty awesome thing to tune into.
So you guys at 5 Deadly Venoms chose the University Settlement Society, a Manhattan-based organization with the focus of education for immigrants. I stole that off the press release by New York. From what I've gathered, it's a charity that takes English or non-English speakers, pretty much immigrants, and then kind of educates them in the language, right?
Yes, among other things. So the University Settlement Society, it's a settlement house. So back in the day, settlement houses were places where new immigrants would go to find their way in a new country. But University Settlement isn't just a settlement house. It is the oldest settlement house in the country. It's the first one. And it is literally up the street and around the corner from Waypoint. And their whole mission is about helping people achieve their greatest potential, right? By removing those barriers that they run into, be it language or awareness or basic levels of education, things that can get missed.
Right. And
we figured, given that, in the Overwatch community, or again, the gaming community at large, we are often seen as antisocial, uncommunicative introverts or worse, or like really angry folks. I said, why don't we help solve communication challenges that happen in the home, right? So we targeted adult literacy because truth is, children's charities and a lot of other types of charities get a lot of play. They're very popular, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there are these other aspects of charitable foundations that, these aren't really sexy necessarily ideas.
Right.
But adult literacy is one of those crazy things. So anyone who's comes from a family of immigrants that have come from overseas, especially like non-English speaking, non-native English speakers, the pattern is very common, right? Kids learn super fast, right?
Mhm.
Parents like race to keep up, and they kind of understand what you're getting into, and then the grandparents are left in a lurch, right? They kind of get left out. So families get fractured over these communication breaks. It's kind of like when you hear parents trying to figure out what the heck Fortnite is, and they're convinced it's brainwashing their children. Right? They don't understand the language, right?
It is. It's
so well, I mean, it is.
I feel like it
children.
brainwashed the Nuge, is what it did.
It did. It got to a news. We're trying to get him back, but
coming from a home of immigrants, like I think that's like badass. First of all, that is like really really cool. And I get what you're saying. Like even with the grandparents, man, like my
They're left
grandparents
out.
that came here.
Yep.
They don't understand the culture at all. They're stuck in their ways, and it's really difficult to kind of get them out of that bubble. And slowly and surely they come around, but that's like after, 10, 15 years. And by then, we're kind of you're kind of at the end, at that point. So I think that is awesome that it definitely benefits them. And that's great. How did y'all end up choosing them? I mean, it's kind of just random, I feel, in terms of the type of society or who you are donating to, but how did you come about them?
So I've gotten to know them just over the years. The missus, she's done some volunteer work with them in the past through some of their other youth outreach programs. They've got another one called The Door, which focuses a lot on like arts and like arts, music, etc. It's an after-school program for disadvantaged youth here in New York. But for me, coming from, I'm from Toronto originally. I'm from Canada, which is why I say weird things like about. Right, I got that horrible accent.
I feel you.
About. So it was important to find a charity or a charitable partner that really represented New York. And there's a lot of massive national charities here, but if you know the history of charitable donations or charities in New York, they often work on a block-by-block basis. And because they are about a 5-minute walk from the Waypoint Cafe, it was just one of those ideas that coalesced perfectly.
I get you. Yeah.
Because they are right there. And we get to do that thing where we get to say, okay, y'all think we're horrible at communicating. Well, then what we're going to do is help fix communication, support making healthier communication in families. And it's going to come from the community that you love to write off as being a bunch of jerks. And, maybe that's the chip on my shoulder a little bit about the scene and how we're perceived. And yeah, that was it. It was really after that, it was just kind of off to the races.
And if
with y'all's team that you have, with the team that y'all have now, how did y'all, how did those group of, 6 come together? Was it essentially people from within this community that y'all have built up, are playing, or how does that kind of work? Like, who are the players?
So the players and everyone who's ever been through the doors at Waypoint we're largely strangers before the league started. So I've been asked this question before, and everyone kind of like, they were always like, oh, how long have you known these folks for? And I tell everyone, I didn't know anybody on the first day at all. Like I went by myself and with like a MacBook and a Google Sheet. So the players, we all kind of did word of mouth. We did some chatter on the NYXL Discord in the little local meetup section. And we started, talking to folks on site. And we did a couple days of just kind of random scrims, trials, and just from there chose the folks that seemed to kind of percolate to the top. And it was crazy because, we had at one point, I think like 3 GMs or something that were coming in.
So you're bring it. Okay.
Oh,
right.
look, I know this is all about love and partnership and charity, but and it is.
Hey,
and you got to win, because we want to make more money for our charitable partner.
And we're rooting for you because something about Dallas, you may not know this about Dallas, but we don't like Houston a whole lot. So anytime we can see Houston lose at anything is much appreciated. So
Okay, well, we can definitely help with that. I think XL will definitely do a great job against Houston, knock on wood, but I can't see that going very poorly. Our squad is good, but what's been really fascinating about this mix is that, we have this bizarre mix of people who would be like, basically like at the 16 to 1800 SR level, who literally just came over from a console, and these GMs. But when you mix them together, you see this kind of greatness that comes out of some players. My favorite example is we've got this one player, Linnell, and she is hilarious because she legitimately got a new laptop because she had been playing on console, and she had been playing, I think, for something like 6 hours before trials.
And she's your Mercy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's the one. She's the Mercy with those crazy clips in that in the roster drop video. And again, somebody who most people would never even group with because you literally couldn't, right, group with them. Is going to be up there with someone like Javion, one of our DPSs, who I think is a T500, if I'm not mistaken. He's a consistent T500 player.
Okay, all right.
So it's madness.
So it's at both ends of the spectrum is really what it is.
Yeah, and that's what makes it kind of awesome.
This is going to be fascinating to watch.
Oh my god, I'm so excited! I want this to happen now.
Well, unfortunately, you got to wait a couple days, but you can watch it on live, twitch.tv/NYXL. I am proud to say that the on-site support, so we've opened up a section on-site. It was a smaller one. It was only 35 spots. Those spots to watch the supporters club team went sold out at a faster rate than the NYXL games against Seoul Dynasty. In 6 minutes, they were gone. It blew me away. And I purposely reduced capacity, like the amount of spots you could get, just because I wanted to make sure friends and family could come in, etc. Yeah, it's gone. It went faster than anything I'd ever seen, and it was humbling, to say the least.
And if you need to follow all that, you can follow 5 Deadly Venoms on Twitter at NYXL_Venoms. Pretty much just look at any of their timeline recently. It's always about this charitable event. It shows everything there. We didn't even bring up Houston's charity. They are supporting Children's Miracle Network hospitals down in Houston.
Yep.
So,
and they're partnering with the Dell Children's Hospital, which again, it's awesome.
Right.
They had worked really hard to find a really good partner. They wanted to make sure it was something that the folks work with, and I think it's awesome because in the end, you've got a ton of folks that are just doing it all for charities, and it's kind of a nice change of pace, right? It's not about ego.
Donate to both and root for one.
Give us more.
That's right.
Or give us more.
Yeah. There you go. Is the winner getting anything? Pride, of course.
You know what? We get bragging rights.
Okay. Which is probably more important in this.
Look, you're on the NYXL Twitch page. I feel like that's like a win in itself, regardless of what happens here. It's just the exposure that y'all are going to get. We hope it obviously helps you guys grow, but that in itself already feels like a win, if you ask me.
It's huge, right? And because the first official NYXL viewing event is that night, I mean, it's great because the team gets to go in as special guests, right, of the team, and like I said, there's this beautiful moment where for that day, it's like when you win an Academy Award. People don't really go back to watch your speech, regardless of what the speech was about. But in that moment, when it happens, they get to be exactly what they have always wanted to be.
The one guy, right? For Saturday, those people will feel like pros.
Exactly.
They really will, and especially how New York
is... And they will be pros, and that's what... Yep.
The way New York is setting it up is what blows my mind, that the organization is so behind you. I mean, you've told me before, they built you a UI for the stream, down to the countdowns to... I mean, it's going to look almost like a professional Overwatch League stream because it's the same, style, right? It's the same guys kind of working on it.
It's nuts. I saw the specs. One of the notes came back, and one of the creatives was saying, okay, so we've been working on the animation, so the countdown's going to work for the pre-show. We got add a little bit of flair, and I was like, wait, what? And I saw the clips, and I'm like, holy cow. I saw the overlays for some of the teams, and like, it's like I did the thing where like, you shed the single manly tear. You're like,
of course,
and it goes down.
This is your baby. This is this is what
and
you
it's
grew
like,
up.
and it's wild because.
I mean, you can
again,
look if you look in our Discord chat history. Like it all started with Richard coming to me saying, "Hey, man, so me and Houston are talking. We're just going to do a little friendly match." And then it was like 2 days later. New York retweeted it, and now we have their official. They're doing a press release. They're going to make all this, and it's like, what happened? And then you
escalated quickly.
Right, it blew up within 2 weeks.
Life comes at you fast, right? And it's crazy, because it's like, and that's why, like, look, it's going to sound nuts, but I'm almost like, I still can't believe I'm talking to you guys.
We are a big deal.
You're the first. You were the first podcast I found when I was getting back into the scene after like a 15-year break in gaming, and it was sort of like my sort of like North Star and trying to figure out what the heck was going on because titles were all new to me. I mean, I knew Counter-Strike because, well, who doesn't know Counter-Strike?
Right.
Since the beginning as a mod, right, on like Half-Life or whatever it was, but it's been really interesting because it's awesome to be able to tell you this story because everyone's always chuckled. They're like, you found Center Ring first and you're like into Overwatch? I'm like, hey man, that's SEO on Reddit. You look up best esport podcast, and that's what shows up on Reddit.
We are the first ones. Oddly enough, we have weathered the storm from all the other big dogs, and we are there.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's been wild. We've the whole. I like to think of like sort of 5DV and Homefront as it's an initiative, right? That's why we called it Homefront. It's the civilian support, right, during times of battle.
Yeah.
And the idea was good, healthy Homefronts come in
I
many
love the
shapes and
whole
forms.
theme behind it, right? The whole feel, the theme that you guys built behind it, the way everyone is rallying around it. I think it's awesome. Just the way it started and everything there. I mean, hell, like what, 3 weeks ago, you guys didn't even have a logo for 5DV, and now you have a Now you have
now
a
we have
full
the special
Twitch
coins.
layout, right? Now,
Yeah, and
yes,
now we
the
have
special
challenge
coins. I don't know. Have you tweeted those out?
I have very loosely. I'm proudly staring at coin number 001. But we're going to be kind of selling those to it's as a collectible for folks who come on site. So they won't be on for online sales, but I may send you folks one or a couple. Oddly enough, just because, like I said, you were where this root bear started his sort of journey back into the gaming scene.
And I'll proudly display it. I think it's like you'll have to tweet it so Anuj and Brett can see it. Think of like a commemorative coin. Like if you won a Super Bowl or whatever, and they always sell those coins, right?
Yeah.
It's like that, but it's got the 5 Deadly Venom logos and the limited edition number. I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we gave our shout out
nice.
to Waypoint because, again, you all, Gino, the head of Waypoint's like my long lost Italian brother from another mother. And it's been it's been crazy. And my whole thing is like, you got to always recognize the footsteps that came before you because there will always be footsteps that come after. Right?
Oh,
nobody. Right?
That's deep.
So, and that's the thing. And in the end, look, all of it's washed away by the winds. So just be good, along the way and just kind of, and then have fun with it. Be positive because let's be honest, in the end, I don't think gaming's got a problem for acceptance in the long term. I mean, hell, when you're in an office, you play competitive PowerPoint, competitive Excel. I mean, we'd be kidding if we didn't say that to the average office clerical person.
Right.
And we deal with crappy people in offices who, lord their ability to play competitive PowerPoint better. So my thing is, since we are the same in that sense, let's just be better people and create the better scene that we want. And look, not everyone's going to want in on that, but a lot of people will.
I know we've talked before in the past, and that's kind of our attitude about it, right? I'm not here to convince anyone to change your mind on esports or whatever, right? If I'm here for you, if you want to watch it, and I'll teach you how it works. So one more time, let me plug everything here. you can follow 5 Deadly Venoms at NYXL_Venoms. Even if you're not a NYXL fan, give them a follow. Support the originals. All right. They are, from what my knowledge, the first actual supporters group of the Overwatch League for any team. I mean, do you know anyone that were before you?
Nope, because I tried to find them.
Yeah, I mean, you were there.
I desperately tried to find them.
All of the other watch parties were actually started by teams, not someone outside of the team. And so I think this is cool. I'm hoping
you guys were too.
Other
it
teams
was
kind of catch on.
Like preseason, you guys were. I remember you let me know that you kind of started that. That's crazy. Saturday, April 14th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Again, you can find the Homefront. What is it? The first ever Homefront series, 5 Deadly Venoms versus Lone Star Vanguard at 2 p.m. Eastern. Twitch.tv/NYXL.
Earlier, if you want to watch the animated countdown.
There you go. Please.
I will be tuned in.
Someone worked really hard on that animated countdown, so please tune in early. Also, they also are giving away goodies. So on the official New York stream, I think Houston's also doing. Is Houston doing a stream, or are they kicking over to New York?
They are doing a stream.
Okay.
They kind of said they wanted their own stream.
All right,
so
fine.
It's coming up. That's cool. So again, we are trying to beat them in viewership, but make sure that in the end, both of us are all talking about both charities.
That is the important
hometown pride and style, which I think is cool. You got to represent the locals in both cities, and I think that's beautiful.
But
you got 3 views here.
There you go.
You can count it.
Since there's no such thing as a non-charitable event without wanting something in return, according to friends, they have like this thing, it's like a tier system for this stream. When 1,000 concurrent viewers tune in to watch the match, they will give 10 skin tokens away randomly. Once 2,000, 10 more, and they'll do that up to 5,000. Once 6,000 viewers are hit, there will be the SBB 6K prize. 6K prize is unlocked, which is one lucky viewer will win a mouse autographed by
the one and only Sabielby, as well as a mouse pad. He's
the Tracer God.
Yeah, and you get and the mouse pad that will be signed as well too is going to be his on stage owl mouse pad. So
there you
it
go.
will have been touched.
Have you ever, if you ever wanted a mouse pad with flaky dead skin from the wrist of a pro?
This is an XQC XQC situation. I'm sure Sabielby is cleaner, maybe.
We'll see. You would hope so. Again, though, that's Saturday, 2 p.m. Keep and watch. You can also donate. I think. How is that situation going to be? Are you guys going to have links on the Twitch?
Everything is online. So
you can donate now.
Overlays,
even.
Yeah, you can donate now. It's you can go directly to universitysettlement.org/5DV.
Excellent. You'll get a shout out on stream, all that fun stuff. For a good cause, donate for the cause. All right, Richard, I wanted to thank you again for coming on the show, man. Like I said, love what you're doing, not only for charity, but for the scene of esports. I think you're doing it about it the right way. You and everyone at 5 Deadly Venoms always will have our support here at TCR.
Look at this real quick. You got a commemorative coin, and you were on a commemorative episode. Like, life just hit you in the face right there.
I know. I get to tell everyone, guys, people, I don't mean to alarm you, but I was on the center ring.
And no, seriously, dude, thank you for coming on, man.
Yeah,
it's awesome. I'm like happy as a cat. Like if you could see my big dumb face, I'm smiling ear to ear right now because, like I said, it means a lot. Like I said, it's kind of weird. You guys have always had a really great perspective on things, and I really do hope more folks will listen to your podcast. Like I love it because I get to talk about you now, and it doesn't seem like a weird plug because legitimately we have a connection. But you guys said it best, and it's a lesson. Look, I've taken inspiration from a lot of people. The Black Tribbles, who are a podcast, like a fandom podcast crew out of Philly, have been a big inspiration in terms of how I want to structure community. Omnic Lab, was really big for me because they kind of explained to me how Overwatch worked because I didn't know how to play. And then with you folks, it was this one comment that was made in one of the early episodes that I listened to, which talked about how the internal obstacles that the scene faces aren't that bad. Like, they're not huge, but they're grounded around this concept of like preciousness, covetousness, right? Of scene.
Right.
And it's where everyone gets the 7 sins wrong. It wasn't envy and jealousy. It was covetousness. There's a mistranslation in the Latin often. And covetousness, right? It's why things become overly precious, right? Like Gollum with the ring. And it's interesting because I said, yeah, let's make sure that the scene's all about whatever we do here. We smash that because it's crappy and it leads to bad attitudes and very unhappy people who take things, very personally because people are needlessly personal over misplaced covetousness.
Yep.
So
I believe it was about the gatekeeper episode. I think I was going on a rant about people being gatekeepers of esports and how the scene does not need you to be a gatekeeper. It needs you to be a welcomer.
Exactly. We had the same thing in the rave scene, right? Like, I came out of the jungle scene, which was one of the worst. Like, it was tough to go through, and everyone always has their story of the person that brought them in. But you'd always go to this thing, and the first thing that would happen is people would just like start rattling off the names of tunes or DJs, and if you didn't know them, you couldn't be cool enough to hang out with them, and it's corny, right? Because it reeks of a lack of self-esteem and fear, right? Of losing something that they feel is the one thing that identifies them, but they don't realize that the thing that makes that entire scene beautiful is the fact that they are a part of it and more people come into it, right? So it's why stop it where it is? You can't stop time, right? If you don't move with the times are going to move you. So just let it go, and then you can have way more fun, and also do cool things along the way. So yeah, again, thank you guys for being such an awesome inspiration for this old head right here.
No, dude. Hey, thank you again for the kind words. I think it's very awesome. Again, that is Richard Ng, founder of the 5 Deadly Venoms. Follow them on Twitter at NYXL_Venoms. Richard, like I said before, if you want to stick around, you're more than welcome to. If you want to peace out, that's okay too. We're going to move on.
I'd love to stick around. There's some fun Counter-Strike. I mean, there's some fun Call of Duty stuff that's been happening today in the news.
There is.
Oh, we're about to have some laughs.
There is.
We're about to have a good time.
Anuj, do you want to set this up?
Oh gosh, like where do we even start? So I guess this is insane. So we got early this morning. You started seeing tweets come in from FaZe Zuma, and this is in regards to his relationship. I guess you could say, right? I mean, I guess it's the
that's a 2-year. 2 years is a long time. I mean,
they were lovers.
Like it's not it's not a short-term little relationship. But anyways, he's dating FaZe Zuma. Is dating a girl named, I guess, like her handle, a gamer tag handle, is Nufo, and she's a streamer for Team Caliber. And I guess they've been dating for the last 2 years. Seems like a good relationship. They're very public about it. It's all over their Twitters, blah, blah, blah. And anyways, this morning he starts like rage tweeting like, oh, I guess organization owners just go around banging girlfriends. And another tweet like 5 minutes later, oh, you can't trust anybody. Like, people just always do stuff behind your back, blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out his girlfriend, who is a streamer for Team Caliber, ended up sleeping with the team owner from Team Caliber. And all this is happening in front of our eyes. I mean, it's just like all like people are just breaking down here. Dude's like losing his mind, and he's letting all his tweets come out. Now, I think he's deleted everything. Tim was gracious enough to save it all for us. So,
I will take listen, man.
I will take the screenshot.
I've learned my lesson in esports. You take screenshots of every tweet. Because
Tim, you do a good job of that. I want to give you credit on that. Like Tim comes through with like stuff that's deleted, and he's like, "Oh no, I got all of it."
Yeah,
like,
don't worry.
He has a whole thing, and it's like it put in a really nice order. Like he was prepared for one of us to ask about it. So I really appreciate that.
I'm doing the Lord's work.
I guess it wouldn't be that big of a deal, right? If it wasn't the sleepy. Can we call him the sleepy? I don't know, but that he wasn't already in the news with arguments you've had with somebody that's already been a staple in esports, right? With Scoots. Like,
I mean, he's not well liked in the scene,
like,
anyways.
he's not well liked at all. Yeah,
I think
so.
So
for
when it
this to
first
happen,
started,
it's like people want him out.
when it first started, my initial reaction was like, man, are we like, is this real life right now? Like, did an owner really sleep with the player's girlfriend? And then the more and more it unraveled, the more and more the internet just sank their fangs into it. And I'm not going to lie. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Because you know why it was easier to laugh at it? Because the internet really rallied around Zuma. And Zuma ended up tweeting out saying, he ended up deleting all of his tweets. And then he ended up being like, hey guys, don't spread hate, just spread love, right? Don't worry about it. I'm like, bro, you're the one who lit the fire. No one would know.
Yeah, I mean,
started this up so quick this morning.
Yeah, he's the one that made the comment of, bro, did you last more than 1 minute? It's like, okay,
no one would have known any of this if he didn't tweet it out. And now that everyone is tweeting, and the owner and the chick came out and said an apology on Twitter, he's like
time heals all, baby.
Time heals.
It healed it quick. It healed it quick in this case.
I'm like, if you were my girlfriend for 2 years, and in your apology to me, you finished it off with "time heals all," I'd be like, and you can go to hell. Like, that's what you have to say to me?
Look,
it
imagine the high and low.
Yeah, it was a strange choice of words. But hey, this is an industry that probably, in general, needs media training.
Oh, so, just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
raised by Twitch chat.
It doesn't stop with Call of Duty. It
exactly.
Imagine the highs and lows for Zuma here. They just came off winning.
Oh yeah,
against Optic
in CWL.
The weekend
and where he got the MVP of the tournament, and now it's like, oh, my girl's.
And didn't they also beat Team Caliber in like the quarterfinals of that tournament? Am I looking at that correctly?
Yeah,
they knocked them out
3-0.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, I think Team Caliber got the last laugh on that one because
Phase one in the losers bracket, but TK got the last laugh. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh,
man,
it's just unfortunate.
It's. And what I think is funny is like people are like, well, their relationships were on the rock or anything like that. I'm like, why don't we just
no excuses.
Why don't we call it what it is, right? The team owner had a nut to bust, and she's an esports groupie. That's all it is.
Oh, that's part of this. When you said that, Tim, Zuma tweeted out, "I heard he only lasted 1 minute, anyways."
Yeah, I saw that. That was.
Yeah,
I mean, that is a beautiful sophomoric response we tend to expect, right?
I know, right? It's like it's what we're trying to change. God.
I know.
I was joking around.
I'll
with
give
Tim.
the guy
like,
a pass. If the bro sleeps with your girl, I'm gonna let you say whatever you want to him.
I was joking around with Tim today. I was like, maybe we ditch the esports podcast and just become esports mentors. Like maybe that's our calling. I don't know.
Well, Malik Forte, right? Talks about that. The scene needs role models, older homies, right along the way. And one of the funny things is a lot of folks are. I mean, I should have aged out of the scene already. The joke sometimes that floats around is that the senior partner from Sterling that shows up, that was at some of the early NYXL press conferences, Farzam Kamel, right? He's like, the older god right on the scene. And it's funny because the joke is, dude, I'm a year older than him. I'm older than everybody in the scene.
Well, Brett's got
I should have aged out. Dude,
I'm 35 and have 2 kids.
Yeah, I'm 38 and was not responsible enough to have children. I didn't do the thing.
This guy is supposed to be the role model, being the owner.
Exactly.
He's 33. I just looked it up. He's 33 years old.
That is true. We're sitting here talking they need role models, and this is the owner of a team.
This is the owner.
Well, and that's the shame, right? That is the shame. And I mean, look, this is the same thing that you see in we had this all the time in the music scene, right? With different promoters, at the time. And we should demand more from leadership and from organizations and from ourselves that we don't, we kind of call out like just kind of crappy human behavior. But it is fascinating to me that, I joke, it's kind of like you've been watching the Zuckerberg, gets slayed by Congress and Twitch chat.
And if I hear
that line, the line when it's like, I started Facebook in a dorm room. I founded this company in a dorm room, and I'm like, that's great. You are a grown-ass adult, sir. You are a multi-billionaire. I don't care where your company started. Nobody cares where it started. Whether you like it or not, you now have a higher responsibility. It's just, that's life.
Right.
And a lot of folks, they just love to not do that.
One thing with esports that's going to be challenging, right? Just moving forward, and I think esports is at a, like, if you had to put an age, right? Esports, I would say, is maybe at age 15 or 16, where you have those kids who are kind of maturing, and then you have those kids that are still laughing at fart jokes. And then you have people like me who are 27 and still laugh at fart jokes. It's just what it is. But there are so many different scenes in esports that have different standards, right? And I think we're really learning that with the Overwatch League, where Blizzard is setting in their standards of how a pro should act, how a team should act, and really how a fan base should act with the way they're policing Twitch chat. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But then you also have scenes like Call of Duty who are kind of notoriously younger. It's the younger scene in there. I would say they're a little bit more loose with their opinions. Would that be a proper way of saying it?
Yeah, that's fair.
They have a different outlook on what's inappropriate, what's wrong, what shouldn't be publicly acceptable, and things like that. And when you're looking at role models, it's like, so how are you going to pick that one role model to look at? Because, for example, like, look at Twitch, right? In Counter-Strike, Sir Scoots is a role model. People look, I mean, he is getting the players union together, for crying out loud. That is how highly revered Sir Scoots is with the Counter-Strike scene.
He just likes to poke is what he likes to do, though.
But you still see, though, the reaction that the Counter-Strike or the Call of Duty community has to him. They think he's a joke. They don't even know who this guy is.
Yeah, he likes to poke at anybody outside of Counter-Strike. I think within Counter-Strike, it's not really he's not a pokey person.
He does it in like to CS players and all that.
But not as much as he does with like the Overwatch League or Call of Duty or anything else. Like
I remember the Immortal situation,
or even Dota
was like pretty funny. I mean, I follow his Twitter. I love listening to him. I think he's great. Like, I have no qualms or beef with him. But yeah, he likes to poke. And in this case, like what he tweeted earlier today, which was saying like, oh, I heard a rumor that anybody that joins the team, streamer or player, has to send a nude to the team owner. And I get it. Like, everyone should know that's a joke. But he was like, well, I just heard it, but it's probably not true. And it's like,
yeah. And he was winning the Twitter war there. Like he everyone was on it. Yeah, but after he tweeted that, you could just look at the timeline. A little it's like Scoots, you really didn't have to say that. That's kind of immature. You're kind of beyond that. Why are we doing this?
He enjoys it. I mean, I get it. He's trolling there, but probably not the best timing.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It happens. Moral of the story is the team owner of Team Caliber slept with Zuma's girl. That's really the bottom line here.
She got a contract extension, I hear.
Oh no, it's not pull. That's not.
That is a person, a Nuge, with feelings. Yeah. All right, Richard.
Time heals all.
Time heals all.
Yeah, time heals all, guys. Richard, we're going to let you go. We're going to get into our memories talk and everything here. Again, though,
guys.
Really appreciate you coming on the show, man. It was a blast talking esports with you and New York XL and the charity and 5 Deadly Venoms. Again, at NYXL_Venoms. Follow that. Get all the details for you need on Saturday. But be sure to tune in and donate if you can.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man,
it's our pleasure, man.
You. No problem, man.
Right, cheers.
Keep in touch.
Okay, take care.
Later.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So there you go. That is Richard Ing from the 5 Deadly Venoms. Good dude.
Guy.
Good dude.
Yeah, man.
He's got pipes on him.
I'm excited for that match. That'll be cool.
Oh,
it will be.
Yeah, the production value and the team kind of latching on to a support group. I mean, it's what we want to see. So
I think it'll be.
Imagine getting a chance to play for a group of your friends or your team and getting to play on that kind of stage. Like that's a fan's dream right there. So that's awesome.
I want to see where it goes.
Involved that way.
Right? That's what I want to see, is because now they started it with just 2 fan groups they got an entire 2 organizations and the league looking at them. Like, imagine after this, you're going to see other teams get fan groups. And then sooner or later, you're going to see an entire supporters league, right? Just
it makes me feel really
charity.
lucky to have Dallas Fuel, because looking at their situation versus ours, like, Mike and these guys put on a hell of a show when they're, like, doing these various watch parties. And it's not like they just did it for the opening act. I mean, this is their 3rd or 4th one is coming up, here pretty soon. So it's a little... I mean, it kind of sucks that they didn't have that there and got a chance to experience it the way Dallas fans have, or some of the other big teams have done.
I can tell you, like, I've gone to 3 of those watching parties, and you see the same faces there. It's just no one's actually, like, latched on and said, "Hey, I'll take over this." Like, it's just
maybe we should start
team
Dallas.
They kind of do it though.
Maybe.
That is the fan group, and they host those events where the burden is off of somebody like Richard having to find a venue to accommodate people. Like, these guys are hosting it at really big places. So
New York is doing their first official watching party on Saturday. So that'll be that's what he was saying. That's be kind of cool that, like, that same night they have that. So it'll be cool. Maybe we can start the Dallas fan group. We can call it like the Lighters or something.
We'll put the money from the show towards that.
That's right. Well, I will invest every dollar I've made from the show, triple it, and then that's the money I'll put in for the Dallas Fuel supporter group.
Well, if you'll triple it, I'll triple it. I'll triple your triple.
Brett, how about you quadruple our triple?
Yeah, man, totally.
Man,
let me just
crush
the buzz it after.
We are so generous. Spoiler alert, that's still 0. So,
do the math.
But I do want to get into memories, gentlemen. This is episode 100, after all. It's going to be a long episode, too. But that's what happens when you have tech issues at the start. We run late. We got Richard on. It's a good one. Everyone will live. I want to talk about the memories of TCR. We started... This is our 100th episode. Episode 1 was posted September 15th of 2015. Believe it or not, like, this September will be 3 years. Which does not... Like, it's kind of sad that we're only on 100 episodes after, 2.5 years. But there were times where it's like if we had to skip a week, because before, maybe newer listeners of the show don't know this, Anuj and Brett were not always here. When the show originally started, it was me and my buddy Brandon, and we started the show. We wanted to create an esports podcast, one that we haven't heard before, which is why it's a variety show, right? We talk about multiple esports. We want to keep it around 45 minutes. We don't want an hour-long monologue over one incident or one game. We wanted to have it to make a community and all that fun stuff. Well, we said at the start, let's get to episode 50. Just get to episode 50 and we'll see what happens, right? We'll kind of get the feeling, see where we're at with it. Well, Brandon didn't even make it that far. So it was like episode 40, and he's like, hey, man, I got like 5 episodes left in me, and then I'm peacing out.
It's kind of crazy to think I've been here for more than half of the episodes of the show.
Yeah. No, I mean, both of you have.
Yeah.
It's when you look back, Brett joined on episode 46, and then Anuj, you joined on 48. So
Brett and I have very opposite stories of how this kind of came about, which I think is really fascinating because Brett was talking about this earlier, and Brett, tell us what you were telling us earlier about how prepared you were and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, we were doing episodes in the studio, and I was just like super excited. I'm like, oh my god, this, I got to be prepared. Like I got to know, I got to come in knowing what,
everything,
projecting that, knowing what I'm talking about, and I just came over prepared.
And I should say this too:
3 sheets of notes.
Out of the 3 of us, I'm the only one that actually is on radio, so it's like I kind of know how to prep. So, like, when Brett is prepping for his first ever any type of recording for a show. And I remember he walked into the studio with, like, 4 or 5 back-to-back pages of every stat you could think of for Counter-Strike. And I was like, what are those? And he's like, those are my notes. Where are yours? I'm like, I don't have notes. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you're going to use like maybe 3 of those lines.
Yeah, I don't want to look like a doofus on the podcast. But after a few episodes, I got my groove, and I'm like, okay, all right, this is just a kind of a chill session, talking with my bros, and just kind of hanging out and just talking about the games we love, and we don't need to slap people with stats, and
stats are boring. Stats can be boring. Right?
They can't.
That's why we kind of more stay towards the very high overview, opinionated talk, because stats. I mean, stats are
more
not
fun for us to talk about too.
Yeah, you can't argue stats. Too. That's the thing.
And my story is like the opposite of Brett's. I mean, like polar opposite, right, Tim? I mean, ours was Tim and I were at dinner with our wives. Where were we eating at? Uncle Julio's.
Uncle Julio's, good old Mexican.
And remember there sharing some fajitas, talking about good old esports while our wives are talking about whatever.
Rolling their eyes.
Tim brings up to me, he's like, "Hey, doing the show tonight. It's just me and Brett." And I was like, "Man, I've always wanted the esports show that I would like to listen to, and I never had one prior to me joining one." No, I'm just kidding. Y'all were always my favorite. And Tim asked me, like, why don't you just, come on in, join in. It was him, me, and Tim's brother. We were also at dinner with them as well. And we come out there, and I couldn't be any more underprepared. I had just stuffed myself with as many fajitas as you can imagine, queso, chips, and then it's like, let's go to the studio and do a show about esports. I was so nervous walking in there. I was like, oh, geez, it's like a real studio. These guys, like, do it big. Now I know. But it was
all a facade.
It was really cool. Like I've really enjoyed this past year on this show.
Somehow we went from a professional studio to my laptop wanting to die the second I hit record on the show. So somewhere we downgraded and it went really wrong.
We're digressing, but
we went from a $20,000 studio to about a $500 bedroom.
But we also went from a 45-minute drive to no drive. So
yeah, that's true. What's been your favorite episode or moment, or like just TCR related moment?
TCR related moment. Getting our first media credentials accepted to ESL Dallas last year. That was huge. Because that was them recognizing us as like official media outlets, right? It's kind of, it's just, I don't know, it was rewarding to think, oh, okay, we could finally say that we're official. At MLG Columbus, when Brandon was still on the show, so before MLG Columbus, right, this was, E-League was kind of just first starting. Brandon tweeted at Turner saying, this is the guy you want, this is the type of person you want working for you. Of course, talking about Richard Lewis. Basically, talking smack on Twitter. Well, Richard Lewis then commented, and it turned into like this big ordeal, right? I mean, you've seen it. You've seen how Richard Lewis and everyone can get on Twitter with each other. Well, so when we were at MLG Columbus, I introduced myself to Richard Lewis, and he was very kind. Actually, it was very surprising on how different his Twitter persona and him in real life is way different, right? I think that helps when you're face to face. And all of a sudden, I was like, "Hey, I'm Tim. This is my buddy Brandon. We're from TCR." And he was like, "Yeah, I know who you guys are." He's like, "You do that esports podcast." And I was like, "Oh God, he knows who we are." Like, he listens. He's heard you talk smack about it, Brandon. I was like, we're done. And and that was great because we actually had a beer with him. We hung out. That was also a very memorable moment.
I think you're burying the lead here. Like, you had a beer?
Well, okay. Brandon and Richard Lewis had a beer. I had a water.
Oh, okay. All right.
With lime.
With lime on the rocks.
Brett, how about you?
I would say it was probably it's a 1A, 1B, and they were both live on local radio here in Dallas on the ticket. We did a Counter-Strike major preview, and then we did an Overwatch show, and I mean, it was just cool to see the reaction, and families saying, "Man, you did a great job," and it's just like all this like time and effort we put, like having it, come, full circle, and like people like actually complimenting you on it just felt really, really good. And I would probably say my favorite moment was the look on Mike. This is Hastro, the owner of the Dallas Fuel Team Envious. The look on his face when he found out that the show was live, when he thought it was recorded.
Yeah, I don't think we ever really disclosed that on the show. When So he came in, the show started at 7. That bro walked in at 6:59.
7:02.
Like, it was the intro was playing, and he walks into the studio. So it's like I'm panicking already because hey, I'm Tim, blah blah blah. All right, here's your headphones, okay? All right, boom, and the lights are on, and it's live, and I have to enter the show. Well, come to find out, we did the entire 30-minute interview, and he did not know it was live. He thought we were recording it. He didn't know we were on live radio. So thank God he didn't swear. Because that would have been pretty much toast for me when my program director was like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And man, I couldn't believe he didn't know.
It was funny because at the end he was like, "Oh gosh, we must be live. My phone is blowing up with messages right now." I was like, "Yeah, bro, y'all tweeted this out. Y'all knew that we were live, bro.
You retweeted it
in the Dallas Fuels tweet. They tweeted the tickets post, and it said live this time. Like, what would you expect?
I like Brett's idea of the 1A, 1B. I'm going to follow along that too. My 1A is actually the same as one of Tim's. Definitely would be ESL Dallas for me as being one of my favorite moments on the show.
That was both of your guys' first time of being a on-job reporting.
Well, yeah, you look at the people that were there at that moment in time too, right? Like you kind of flash back to it, and it was like Yahoo Esports was there. Slingshot, who at the time was one of the largest insider stories. They had Decay as part of their staff, and I mean, it was just we felt important because there was only 4 or 5, authorized, 4 or 5 different crews at that time that were there. So that was awesome because I loved meeting the players. As most of y'all know, I'm also a Counter-Strike fanatic. I've loved it ever since the game was a mod. I mean, it was an incredible moment to see them and interact with them and be there and feel important. All of that, like kind of Tim mentioned, was just awesome.
You found your bestie and long time, long lost wife mate.
Launders.
And
I'd exchange information with Launders. Like, God bless America. It was such a good moment, and everything about it was just cool. Again, even conversations with Simple and all these people that you kind of watch and idolize from a player standpoint, right? It's not like they're my heroes, but in Counter-Strike, there's some of these guys that I think I love, and so it was just really, really neat. 1B would be one of Brett's, was being the first time on the radio, because that was awesome to see the support I got from friends and family getting to do that. Everyone that listened in. It was, again, one of the most nerve-wracking moments I've had on the show, but that was really, really a cool and special moment that no one can take away. So both of those I was really in love with, and one of the reasons why I still want to keep doing the show for another 100 episodes.
And just to even say more of what I look back and enjoy most with the show, right, is seeing your guys' reactions to things like that. Because for me, I've worked in radio for 5 years. I've covered events. I've talked to people, athletes, whatever. Right. So to me, it's kind of just part of the job. I've lost that glimmer. Right. It's just it's work. It's turned into work. But to see your guys' reaction of being all right, I got to kind of teach you how to do a report, right? How to do an interview, how to conduct an interview, and to see to get you guys press passes, and I don't know, it makes me remember the times when I was first starting in the sports media world, right? And having that excitement, it gets me excited to see you guys getting excited over those little things, right? Because those are the little things that you look back and think, man, that's pretty cool. I
felt like a kid in a candy store that day, dude.
Yeah,
that was definitely
we are backstage. We had access to everything.
I got to talk to Daps.
Owners.
You got a liner from Daps, man.
We got
Hey, man.
I mean,
That's
tried to
number one
drop-
seed Daps to you, sir.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
They just lost 0-2 today. It's over.
They did clinch,
Oh.
though, for ESL Dallas. So
That is true.
they are going there. So we'll get to watch them. We'll get to talk to him again at ESL Dallas.
I think maybe this time, I mean, they're kind of a big deal. Maybe he won't ask us for cash.
He's asking for money.
Or at
bro.
least he has a reason
Double
to
down.
ask for cash.
Double down now.
Yeah.
That was another
Double
thing at
down.
ESL Dallas when Anuj went to Daps, and again, that was like the first event, and I was like, just walk up to him and ask. That's really just what you have to do. And Dabs was like, am I gonna get, like, are you gonna give me money or something? And Anuj was like, do they normally ask for that? And I was like, never.
No.
I have never
bro,
heard
I
someone
got, like,
ask for
change
money.
in my pocket. I might have a 20 on me. Is that going to cover this or what? Like, how does this work? Felt like I was paying for sex. It was just a weird moment.
It's like, you felt a little violated. Like,
Bro, this should be free. Why am I giving you money? Why are you asking for money right now? I was like, like nobody knows you. Just I'll get back to you later. Let's try somebody else.
We'll just go.
I still, I like, and I that's why I always encourage the listeners to interact and hit us up on Twitter or anything like that. Any email we get, I always send to everyone, right? I love hearing from the fans. Like Richard, right? He was a fan that started that club, right? And he said like how he gives us some credit for that. That blows my mind. Where it's just like, bro, we're three dudes who work full-time job and we do this after work.
It's something that we've always preached on the show, though. Like, okay, you might not like. I never watched Dota. I never watched it. But when the international came, it's esports on like a big scale. So I'm going to give it a watch. Give it some love. You see esports on TV, give it some love. Like, we want to see this industry grow.
You got to pay it forward.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good to see. It warms my heart. I love it.
Yep. And I'm with the Nuge, man. I'm ready for the next 100. Who knows where we'll be there? It all lies on the listeners, right? You got to spread the word. Like us on Twitter or whatever the hell you do. Follow, like, retweet. Spread the word, and that way we can grow this little family we call the Center Ring. Some fun things. Church hot. I like that. The fact that a listener in our Discord was talking about what is church hot. Love it. Asking life's important questions.
Now we have a new hashtag, right, Tim?
Hashtag, what was it? Time heals all.
Time heals all. And anytime we're raging at one another, that'll be the new hashtag.
It's streaming on...
Whenever Tim's raging on Overwatch, just like, Tim, time heals all.
You guys have heard me rage before the show. There's no stopping this. There is no stopping this train.
We're at 100, but I'm excited for a lot of stuff that we have coming up. We got DreamHack and all these just
DreamHack Austin. So hopefully we have more people interact with us at DreamHack Austin. Now, typically when we go, we do see like 1 or 2 listeners, right? I would love to do like a get together, right? Where just a handful
like
of
a
them
night out,
chill, hang out, come back to the hotel, play some Smash. Whatever, that sounds weird. I don't really want you to come back to the hotel. Maybe hang out at the venue, play some Smash.
Yeah, or we could just go to a bar, or
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine.
For the longest time. So the funny thing is we started streaming on Twitch like 3 episodes ago. I don't know if people know this. The original plan was streaming on episode 50. So, well, it just shows you how slow we move sometimes. But again, we are using our own resources when it comes to this. The original plan was to be at Brandon's condo. We were going to have like cameras, and it was going to look like a real talk show. And it's like, man, I'm almost glad we didn't do that, because it sounds like a very big undertaking.
We might get video at some point on here. That could
we will.
happen.
That's the next thing on the list, right? It took us 100 episodes to start streaming on Twitch. Let's say by the next 100 we get cameras and have that function going. But right now with the setup, it's more of a pain in the butt, and I'll let someone else figure it out. But I think that's it. Anything else you guys have?
no, man.
I mean, I'm
Like
excited.
Andrew said, I'm ready for another 100.
Yeah, like it's an emotional. It's weird. It's like I'm happy that we're here, but at the same time, it hasn't always been rainbows and sunshine, you know. I think you guys have learned what sometimes Boss Tim can look like.
Yeah,
but
I mean, we've learned like it's a healthy relationship. Like we've learned like, okay, we're just gonna let Tim vent, or sometimes we have to kind of like say something. It's like I feel like we're all
stubborn,
Yeah,
we're all stubborn.
Exactly, and it works.
Everybody wants their own way, and we make it work. We find a middle ground that usually works. For
if
everyone.
me and Anuj are going back and forth, I think Brett's learned just to bow out until one of us comes up with a decision.
I've learned that I'm a good referee, but
we've learned that on the show too. Once we get to certain conversations,
love you guys.
I love you. It's a good time had by all. Love the listeners. Love everything about it, man. I cannot wait for the next 100 episodes. But let's get some e-news. Enough of that mushy stuff. Not a whole lot happening right now, to be honest with you. In CSGO...
Zuma would say different.
What now?
Zuma would say different.
There's a lot going on with Zuma right now. Actually, is there, though? Probably
he's a free man.
Bro, he's a free professional gamer. You think people didn't hit up his DMs the second he said it?
He's not crying today.
No.
Nah, yeah.
I hit him up in his DMs. Never know.
I think he's going to do just fine. But at CSGO, Skadoodle officially announced that he's coming out of retirement into C9.
It wasn't really retirement,
but let's call it a break.
We're happy to see him back. Like, Cloud9
it's so funny going back and like how people like were like, "Oh man, good luck, buddy, good luck," and it was like he was like, "Guys, I just took a weekend off. What do you? Calm down. I've taken vacations longer than that guy is."
Like they all made it seem like he was leaving. Like all signs were him to being gone, especially when replacement talks and all that came up, and it was like, oh gosh, it's over.
But man, am I glad he's staying.
Now
he is better than any replacement they could have gotten, especially with FNS the way the team's been performing with him IGLing. Whew. Top 5 here we come.
Audie and these guys go back to hard fragging, and hey, they have a chance now.
Top 5. Here we come.
They can say top 5. Let's see.
Stay top.
I'm going to bring this up, but we're going to talk about this next episode. We were going to talk about it this episode, but we're like, man, 100's a celebration. Let's not.
We have to wait till we're of age, so 101 would be it.
Let's not get serious. But Dream Casper is officially cut from Boston Uprising. So.
Tune in to episode 101.
The teaser of the year.
Oh my god. I can't wait to talk about this.
Temptation got the best of him. And, So you've heard it. But he's cut from the team for his sexual allegations towards an underage woman. Or women. We don't know yet.
Or child or
Children.
Teenager. Yeah.
So we'll talk about that next week, though. In more details, our thoughts, opinions on that. Call of Duty had their Stage 1 playoffs, as we kind of mentioned there. FaZe ended up beating TK, but then TK's owner ended up smashing his girl, so, took her.
FaZe beat Optic in the finals.
took her to the winner's bracket, you know what I'm saying?
That was the loser's bracket Tim was discussing. Ultimately, everyone came out a winner there. But yeah, the grand finals, you had FaZe take out Optic.
Someone came for sure on that.
Thriller.
Someone came.
FaZe pulled it off. Zuma being the MVP inside and out.
Yeah, you could say inside and out. Zuma's a girl.
Damn, went too far. Right, getting comfortable.
Yeah, no, I am.
Oh man, it's just you can't write that stuff, man. It's just esports. It just keeps giving and giving. Just when you think that there's nothing there to talk about this week. You got one dude sexting a 14-year-old and another owner smashing a player's girlfriend. It's like...
who has plenty of time to write about this now, right?
It's just when it rains, it pours.
Mr. Richard Lewis looks like he's going to have quite a bit of time on his hands now.
That is true, or maybe not. I don't know. He hasn't really said what he's going to do. But Richard Lewis officially announced this week that he's parting ways with E-League. It's mutual. He basically said, F you, fighting game community, and said, I'm done with it. I don't need this. So I can't say I blame him. I've said on the show, I thought he did an amazing job hosting the desk. It kind of sucks to see him go. I don't know who they're going to get, considering some of their people went over to Overwatch League now. But I'm sure they'll find someone. But stay hard to Richard Lewis.
Similar comeback.
Bro, there's no way he's leaving.
I know.
He's got a good gig. Yeah.
One can only dream.
So we'll see. I don't know what is in Richard Lewis's plan. Maybe it's just doing his own thing. We'll see. Good luck, though. Gears of War, Las Vegas Open. Ghost ended up defeating Fable Esports 2-1 in that tournament. And starting this weekend, one of my favorite times of the year, it's my guilty pleasure still to this day, the Halo World Championship begins April 13th in Seattle, Washington. I can't say I follow the game like I used to, but I will definitely pay attention to the World Championship. It's a guilty pleasure. It's not the game I grew up with. It's not the game I support, but my God, it's Halo.
Gosh, if Bungie would do something about that, we would actually all come back. So,
but Bungie needs to get the game back, is what it is. So it's
step up and make it back to what it was. Go get it, make it happen. Who's running it now?
It's 343 Studio.
That's right.
So that's when Microsoft and all them took over and knocked Bungie out. That's really kind of when you saw the game taking a different path. But they say for Halo 6, which it's rumored that they might tease it at the championship, which would be the best time to do it, is going back to the old days. They say they want to make it back to its roots, make it more land friendly. So we'll see. We'll see. Only time will tell. But that is this weekend if you want to watch some Halo. But again, guys, I want to thank you both for joining me on the journey for the Center Ring. It's great to have you for, 52, 53 episodes. Looking for another 100 with you. Who knows where we will be at episode 200. Brett might have 4 kids.
We might have 1.
All the kids. Yeah.
And I might still be just chilling. You never know. But more importantly, I want to thank you, the listener, for sticking with us for 100 episodes. If you are a listener, in fact, just let me know when you joined on to the Center Ring family, right? Let me know what episode, all that. I'm just curious. I want to see how our listeners have joined us. I know Richard has been around for a while. He's in our Discord too. If you see him in our Discord, say hello. He's a nice guy. Again, thank you to Richard Ng for joining the show, letting us know all about the charitable match coming up Saturday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. Just search 5 Deadly Venoms. You'll find it all there. What else? Follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring, our website, tcr.gg. Hit us up in our Discord. We'll be back next week. Talk some of that Dreamcast for sexual allegation. Always things to dive into that, how the community reacted, all that fun stuff. Again, I want to thank all the listeners. Really, it's pretty awesome being here for 100 episodes. It's all because of you. Not really. You don't pay me. But the thought, that's what counts. For Anuj, for Brett, I'm Tim. We'll see you next time.